Most people see them as cowardly scavengers from movies. But here's something that might change your mind. A hyena's jaw generates 100 pounds per square inch of crushing force. That's 7 times stronger than your bite and powerful enough to shatter a buffalo's femur bone in seconds. Every year, campers sleeping in tents across Africa wake up to the worst nightmare of their lives. 2 men in Cape Vidal, South Africa, found out the hard way in August 2025 when hyenas tore through their tent fabric and latched onto their faces. One victim described hearing the sound of his own facial bones breaking, comparing it to chips crunching in a bag. The problem is that most people don't understand what they're dealing with. These aren't the laughing buffoons from cartoons. These are Africa's most successful predators, with bite forces that exceed lions, endurance that outlasts cheetahs, and hunting success rates that climb to 74% when working in groups. But here's the thing about surviving a hyena encounter. It's not about being stronger or faster. It's about understanding behavior that evolved over millions of years, recognizing the warning signs before the situation escalates, and knowing exactly what actions trigger an attack versus what makes them retreat. The difference between walking away and becoming a statistic often comes down to a few critical decisions made in the span of seconds. When you look at a spotted hyena, your brain might tell you it's some kind of dog. That's your first mistake. Despite their canine appearance, hyenas belong to the suborder Feliformia. They are more closely related to cats and mongooses than to any dog species. This evolutionary path gave them something unique, a body designed specifically to crush bones and outlast prey in marathon chases. The skull structure tells you everything. That massive head houses the strongest bite force of any terrestrial carnivore relative to body size. The jaw muscles attach to ridges on top of the skull, creating extraordinary leverage. Their teeth are pyramidal with unusually broad bases and low profiles, sharp enough to slice through flesh, but hard enough to pulverize bone without shattering. While a lion at 650 psi can deliver a formidable bite, the hyena's 100 psi surpasses it. One documented measurement reached an astonishing 4,500 newtons, though researchers treat this outlier with caution. Even at conservative estimates, these jaws can crack open bones that other predators must abandon. The body plan reveals their hunting strategy. Front legs noticeably longer than rear legs create a distinctive sloping profile. Awkward looking perhaps, but biomechanically brilliant for endurance running. They can sprint at 37 to 40 miles per hour, matching or exceeding many prey species in short bursts. But speed is only part of the equation. What makes them truly dangerous is that they can maintain 30 miles per hour for 3 to 5 kilometers. Their heart constitutes nearly 1% of total body weight, double the human proportion, pumping blood efficiently during those exhausting pursuits. While a cheetah collapses after 400 meters, the hyena just keeps coming. Adult spotted hyenas stand 28 to 35 inches at the shoulder and weigh between 89 to 140 pounds. Females are slightly larger than males and significantly more aggressive, a rare trait among mammals. Their senses are finely tuned for hunting. Excellent night vision suited to their primarily nocturnal lifestyle. Keen hearing with those rounded ears constantly swiveling to catch sounds, and an olfactory system so sensitive they can detect carrion from miles away. They can identify individual clan members by scent alone, a crucial skill in their complex social world. Not all hyenas pose equal threat to humans. Understanding which species you're dealing with can be the difference between reasonable caution and serious danger. The spotted hyena is the largest and by far the most dangerous. These are the ones responsible for virtually all documented attacks on humans. They're primarily predators, not scavengers, contrary to popular belief. Research conducted over decades in the Serengeti and Ngorongoro crater proved that spotted hyenas hunt as much as lions do. They kill their own prey in up to 95% of cases, and they're frighteningly efficient at it. These are the animals that dragged campers from tents in Cape Vidal, that mauled a teenager at Kruger National Park, and that killed 27 people in Mulanje, Malawi in a single year during 1962. When people talk about dangerous hyenas, they're talking about this species. The striped hyena inhabits a different ecological niche. Found from North Africa through the Middle East to India, they're smaller, more solitary, and primarily scavengers. These animals rarely attack humans. Documented cases are extraordinarily rare and typically involve rabid individuals or extreme provocation. During the 1880s in Turkey's Iğdır province, a rabid striped hyena wounded 25 children and 3 adults over 3 years before authorities offered bounties for hyena elimination. Similar isolated incidents occurred in Azerbaijan during the 1930s and 1940s, but these represent exceptions to normal behavior. Brown hyenas live in southern Africa and are even less threatening. These shaggy-coated scavengers are largely solitary foragers, though they maintain loose clan structures. They're timid around humans, and attacks are virtually unheard of, unless the animal is diseased or cornered. They spend their nights covering 32 to 50 kilometers searching for carrion, rarely hunting live prey larger than small mammals. The aardwolf barely qualifies as a hyena at all in terms of danger. Weighing only up to 17 pounds and subsisting entirely on termites and insects, this smallest family member poses zero threat to humans. If you encounter an aardwolf, your survival is not in question. When you encounter a hyena, you're not just dealing with an individual animal, you're potentially dealing with a complex social system that could quickly become a numbers problem. Spotted hyenas live in matriarchal clans ranging from 10 to 80 members, though larger clans have been documented. These aren't loose associations, they're highly structured societies with strict dominance hierarchies, more complex than those of most primate groups. The alpha female leads the clan, and her position is absolute. Rank passes matrilineally. Her daughters inherit positions just below her, creating a monarchy-like succession. Males, regardless of size or fighting ability, rank below all adult females. Immigrant males occupy the lowest rungs, often waiting years for mating opportunities. This female dominance is reinforced through aggression, coalition building, and control over resources. At a kill, high-ranking females eat first. Lower-ranking individuals and males scavenge what remains or risk violent retribution. But here's what matters for survival. Hyenas practice fission-fusion society dynamics. The full clan rarely moves together. Instead, they break into smaller foraging groups that coalesce during territorial conflicts, large hunts, or feeding frenzies. This means the lone hyena you spot might not be alone for long. One vocalization can summon clan members from kilometers away. Their communication system is sophisticated. That famous laugh, technically called a giggle, serves multiple functions. It can signal submission, excitement, or distress. The whoop, a long howling call that carries up to 5 kilometers, announces location and often summons clan members to kills. Grunts coordinate hunts, growls establish dominance or warn threats. They also communicate through scent marking, using anal gland secretions to mark territory boundaries and establish identity. This isn't random animal noise, it's language, and they're constantly talking. Understanding this social context is critical. A single hyena might retreat from confrontation, but if it summons the clan through vocalizations, your situation deteriorates rapidly. Their cooperative hunting evolved specifically to take down prey much larger than themselves. That's their strategy: patience, coordination, and overwhelming numbers. Hyenas are strategic predators, and their attack patterns follow predictable logic. They target vulnerability. Statistical analysis of documented attacks reveals clear victim profiles. Women, children, elderly individuals, and sick or injured people comprise the overwhelming majority of cases. Theodore Roosevelt documented in his 1908-1909 Uganda expedition that spotted hyenas regularly killed sufferers of African sleeping sickness as they lay outside in camps. The timing is equally predictable. Hyenas are primarily nocturnal, with activity peaking between sunset and sunrise. This is when they hunt, when they patrol territories, and when they encounter sleeping humans. The Cape Vidal attacks occurred at 3:30 and 4:30 a.m. The Kruger National Park attack happened at 4:30 a.m. The pattern repeats across incidents. Darkness provides cover, and sleep provides opportunity. The method of attack is particularly disturbing. Hyenas explore with their teeth. It's how they investigate potential food. When attacking sleeping victims, they typically target the face and head first. This isn't random. The face and skull contain soft tissue and sensory organs, and hyenas instinctively understand that incapacitating these areas immobilizes prey. Multiple victims described being awakened by hyenas biting their faces, then being dragged from tents by their heads. One Kruger victim was dragged 98 feet before the hyena sat on him. When hunting live prey, spotted hyenas employ exhaustion tactics. They don't kill with a single throat bite like big cats do. Instead, they bite repeatedly at the hindquarters, belly, and flanks while the prey is still running. This eventually causes shock and collapse, at which point they begin feeding while the animal is still alive. This brutal efficiency evolved for good reason. It prevents large, dangerous prey from mounting effective defense. Understanding habituated versus wild behavior is crucial. Ironically, hyenas in remote wilderness areas rarely attack humans. They maintain natural wariness. But hyenas living near human settlements, camping areas, or urban fringes become habituated. They associate humans with food, either from garbage, feeding, or livestock. These habituated animals lose their innate caution and become significantly more dangerous. The hyenas at Cape Vidal had been prowling the campsite for years, becoming increasingly bold. Campers had been warned about monkeys, but not about the real threat. By the time attacks occurred, these animals had lost all fear of humans. Your survival strategy begins before you ever see a hyena. Understanding whether you're in hyena country and recognizing the signs of active territory can prevent dangerous encounters entirely. Hyenas inhabit diverse ecosystems across sub-Saharan Africa, from open savannas and grasslands to semi-arid regions, swamps, and even mountainous forests. They're remarkably adaptable, which is partly why they've thrived while other large predators have declined. The first indicators are the territorial markings. Hyenas mark boundaries through a behavior called pasting, depositing secretions from anal glands onto grass stalks, typically at heights of 6 to 12 inches. These scent marks, which appear as white or yellowish paste, concentrate near territory borders. They also create communal latrines called middens, large accumulations of feces in specific locations. Unlike scattered droppings, middens are deliberately maintained sites where clan members regularly defecate. The feces often appear white or chalky due to the high calcium content from crushed bones. Look for tracks and paths. Hyena prints show 4 toes with claw marks, distinctive from cat prints which rarely show claws. Front prints measure roughly 8 to 9 centimeters wide. Their trails, particularly near water sources or between den areas and hunting grounds, become worn pathways through vegetation. Dens themselves are typically located in abandoned aardvark burrows, rocky outcrops with caves, or dense vegetation along drainage lines. Unlike some predators that create elaborate dens, hyenas prefer simple natural shelters. Listen for vocalizations, especially at dusk and dawn. The whooping call that gives them their reputation carries for kilometers. If you hear sustained calling, particularly multiple individuals responding to each other, you're in active clan territory. At night, their calls become more frequent as they coordinate movements and hunts. Temporal patterns matter enormously. Hyena activity follows circadian rhythms, strongly influenced by temperature and prey behavior. They're most active during cooler hours, late evening through early morning. Activity drops dramatically during midday heat when they rest in shade. This means your risk profile changes drastically based on time. Walking at dawn or dusk exponentially increases encounter probability. Moving at night without proper lighting and awareness is asking for trouble. Certain locations concentrate risk. Water sources attract hyenas throughout their territories since both predators and prey need water. Camping near waterholes, rivers, or lakes increases encounter likelihood. Garbage dumps and food storage areas are high-risk zones. Hyenas have learned that human settlements generate food waste, and they'll patrol these areas regularly. The waste dump in Mekelle, Ethiopia, hosts urban hyena populations that have adapted entirely to human-provided food sources. Areas with livestock present particular danger. Hyenas patrol fence lines and crawls where livestock are kept, probing for weaknesses. If you're sleeping in or near areas where livestock are held, you're in a conflict zone where hyenas already associate human structures with food opportunity. Campsites in national parks and reserves vary in risk. Fenced compounds offer more protection, but as the Cape Vidal incidents proved, fences don't guarantee safety if animals find gaps or if tent doors remain open. Seasonal patterns influence behavior, too. During droughts when natural prey populations decline, hyenas venture closer to human settlements out of desperation. This increases conflict. Similarly, during migration seasons when massive herds move through territories, hyenas become more active and aggressive in defensive kills. Female hyenas with dependent cubs show heightened aggression toward any perceived threat near den sites. Proper preparation dramatically reduces encounter risk. Starting with camping equipment, tent selection matters. Robust, fully closable tents with quality zippers are essential. Mesh windows and doors must seal completely. Hyenas will exploit even small openings. Multiple victims reported leaving tent flaps partially open for ventilation or bathroom access. This is a fatal error. If ventilation is necessary, ensure mesh windows are intact and secure. Lighting is critical. High-powered flashlights or headlamps should be accessible at all times. Hyenas have excellent night vision, but sudden bright light can startle and disorient them, providing crucial seconds. Some experienced guides recommend red light settings since they preserve your night vision while still illuminating threats. Chemical light sticks or lanterns around the perimeter create a deterrent zone. Hyenas generally avoid well-lit areas during approaches. Sound deterrents include whistles, air horns, or even simple bells. The key is sudden, loud noise that breaks the normal soundscape. Some people carry portable air horns used for sporting events. These produce 120 decibel blasts that can halt or redirect approaching animals. However, sound deterrents must be immediately accessible, not buried in a backpack. Pepper spray designed for large animals like bears can deter hyenas, but it requires proper training. The effective range is typically 10 to 20 feet, which means the hyena is already dangerously close. Wind direction affects spray accuracy, and in the chaos of a nighttime encounter, proper deployment becomes challenging. Still, it's better than no defense. Proper food management is non-negotiable. All food must be stored in sealed containers well away from sleeping areas. Hanging food from tree branches or using bear-proof containers prevents scent trails leading to your tent. Even food wrappers and cooking utensils carry scent and must be secured. Many attacks occur when hyenas initially investigate food smells and then opportunistically attack sleeping humans. Proper hygiene extends this principle. Wash dishes immediately, dispose of wastewater away from camp, and store toiletries that might have food-like scents. Fire serves multiple purposes. A campfire creates light, produces sound through crackling, and generates smoke that carries scent signals. Hyenas typically maintain distance from active fires. Keeping embers alive through the night provides continuous deterrent, though this requires fuel management and someone staying alert. Fire-starting equipment should be waterproof and reliable. Group camping offers significant safety advantages. Hyenas rarely attack groups of alert humans. Solo camping in hyena territory exponentially increases risk. If you must camp alone, position your tent near other campers if possible. The collective presence of multiple people, vehicles, and lights creates an environment hyenas perceive as threatening. Communication devices could save your life. Cell phones with emergency contacts pre-programmed, satellite communicators, or radio equipment allow rapid distress calls. Park rangers or nearby camps can respond to emergencies, but only if they know about them. Inform someone of your location and expected return before venturing into wilderness areas. The moment you spot a hyena, your next actions determine the entire trajectory of the encounter. This is not the time for panic or sudden movement. Your brain will flood with adrenaline, your heart rate will spike, and your instinct will scream at you to either freeze or bolt. Both reactions can be fatal. First, stop moving immediately. Cease whatever activity you're engaged in, whether walking, setting up camp, or eating. Do not make sudden movements that might trigger chase instinct. Hyenas are predators with millions of years of evolution, programming them to pursue fleeing objects. Running activates that response automatically. Even if you could sprint at Olympic speeds, you cannot outrun a hyena. They clock 37 to 40 miles per hour and maintain 30 miles per hour for several kilometers. Your top speed is perhaps 15 miles per hour for a few hundred meters before exhaustion. The math is simple and brutal. Assess the situation rapidly but carefully. How many hyenas are visible? Is this a lone individual or part of a group? Solitary hyenas behave differently than clan groups. Are there cubs nearby? Female hyenas protecting young are exponentially more aggressive. What is the hyena doing? Is it focused on you, or is it investigating something else like food waste or garbage? Its body language tells you everything. A hyena showing relaxed posture, ears in neutral position, tail hanging naturally, body stance loose, is likely not immediately threatening. It may be curious or simply passing through. A hyena, with ears cocked forward, tail raised and curled over its back, hackles raised along the spine, and direct sustained eye contact is signaling aggression or high interest. This animal is evaluating you as either threat or opportunity. If the hyena hasn't noticed you yet, consider backing away slowly while maintaining visual contact. Create distance before it detects your presence. If it has spotted you, do not turn your back. Do not crouch or bend down, as this makes you appear smaller and more vulnerable. Do not lie down under any circumstances. This posture mimics prey and will invite investigation. Once a hyena is aware of your presence and shows interest, your goal is to project dominance without triggering attack. This is a psychological game where body language and behavior signal whether you're predator or prey. You need to convince this animal that you are dangerous and not worth the effort. Stand at full height immediately. Raise your arms above your head to maximize your vertical profile. If you're wearing a jacket or have any material, spread it between your hands to appear even larger. This is about visual intimidation. Make yourself look like a large, formidable animal rather than the soft, vulnerable primate you actually are. Face the hyena directly, but avoid prolonged, direct eye contact. This is a nuanced balance. You want to show confidence and awareness, but unbroken staring can be interpreted as challenge that might provoke attack. Look at the animal, but let your gaze move between its body, the surrounding area, and its face. You're monitoring without challenging. Begin making loud, aggressive vocalizations. Shout, yell, or scream at the animal. Deep, bass-heavy sounds work better than high-pitched screaming, which can sound like prey in distress. Use words if that helps you generate volume, but the content doesn't matter. The hyena doesn't speak your language. What matters is volume, aggression, and sustained noise. You're communicating that you're not afraid, that you're capable of making a lot of noise, and that attacking you will not be quiet or easy. If you have any objects, a backpack, stick, camera, water bottle, wave them aggressively. Swing a stick or trekking pole in broad arcs. Throw your backpack up and down. The motion reinforces your size and adds unpredictability. Hyenas are intelligent and cautious. Unpredictable behavior from potential prey makes them hesitant. Take slow, deliberate steps toward the hyena while maintaining your aggressive display. This is counterintuitive, but it's critical. Predators don't expect prey to approach them. This behavior sends a powerful signal that you're not prey. You're a potential threat. Take 1 or 2 steps forward, pause, then perhaps another step. Watch the hyena's reaction. If it backs away, you're succeeding. If it holds ground or advances, maintain your position but continue the aggressive display. Do not make sudden, lunging movements. Keep your advances slow and deliberate. You want to appear confident and dangerous, not erratic and attackable. If you have multiple people present, form a tight group. Stand close together, all facing the hyena, all making noise. Groups are much harder to attack than isolated individuals. The hyena's calculus changes from one potential meal to multiple threats. Throughout this process, talk to the hyena. This might sound strange, but vocalizing helps you maintain calm and provides continuous sound that reinforces your presence. Say anything. Describe what you're doing, count aloud, recite poetry. The sound of your voice keeps you from holding your breath and helps regulate your fear response. Hyenas may even find continuous human speech unsettling since it's not a sound they associate with prey animals. Despite doing everything correctly, some encounters escalate to physical confrontation. If a hyena continues advancing despite your defensive display, or if it charges, you must be prepared to fight. This is life or death, and half measures won't work. If it growls or giggles while approaching, stand your ground absolutely. Do not retreat even 1 step. This is a dominance test. Giggles often indicate excitement or uncertainty in the animal. Your unwavering stance might be enough to break its resolve. Continue aggressive vocalizations and threatening gestures. If you have any implement, stick, rock, hiking pole, hold it ready. If physical contact becomes imminent or occurs, target the head, specifically the nose, eyes, and throat. The nose is extremely sensitive, and a solid strike can cause intense pain and disorientation. If you have a stick or pole, thrust it toward the face rather than swinging. Thrusting is faster, harder to dodge, and can reach the animal before it reaches you. Aim for the eyes with whatever you have: fingers, stick ends, keys. Damage to eyes will immediately change the hyena's priorities. One documented survivor shoved his hand down the hyena's throat when it latched onto his face. This desperate move caused the animal to gag and release. It's extremely dangerous since hyena bites can crush hand bones, but it can interrupt an attack. If a hyena has you in its jaws, do not pull away. This causes tearing damage. Instead, push toward the animal while striking its face with your free hand or any available object. Kicking can be effective if you can maintain balance. Hyenas have powerful jaws but relatively vulnerable skulls compared to their bite force. A solid kick to the jaw, nose, or head can discourage attack. However, kicking risks losing balance, which is catastrophic. If you fall, the hyena gains immediate advantage. Only kick if you're confident in your footing and can deliver substantial force. If you have pepper spray, this is the moment. Aim for the face from maximum effective range. The spray needs direct contact with eyes and nose to work. Wind affects accuracy, so position yourself if possible. After spraying, continue aggressive behavior. The spray causes pain, but not instant incapacitation. In the event of multiple hyenas, your situation becomes drastically worse. Your only realistic option is to make yourself absolutely ungovernable as prey. Fight constantly, make sustained noise to attract help, and focus on preventing any animal from getting solid grip. Multiple survivors described fighting for extended periods, 1 or 2 minutes that felt eternal before hyenas retreated or help arrived. If you're defending someone else, the same principles apply but with added complexity. You must protect the vulnerable person while maintaining aggressive display toward the hyenas. Position yourself between them and the animals. If possible, back toward any available shelter, vehicle, building, large tree. Getting vulnerable individuals off the ground and elevated reduces attack angles. Tent attacks represent a specific and terrifying scenario. You're asleep, disoriented, in confined space, and the hyena has already decided your food. The attack pattern is consistent across documented cases. The hyena tears through tent fabric or exploits open zippers, targets the face or head of sleeping victims, and attempts to drag them outside. If you wake to a hyena in your tent, immediate explosive action is necessary. Do not remain prone. Sitting up or standing forces the hyena to recalculate. Many hyenas expect passive prey and hesitate when victims fight back. One survivor described punching, gouging eyes, and shoving his hand down the hyena's throat before it retreated. This aggressive resistance often succeeds where passive defense fails. Scream continuously and loudly. Your vocalizations serve 2 purposes. They signal distress to anyone nearby who might help, and they create continuous aggressive sound that hyenas find unsettling. Many tent attack victims who successfully fought off hyenas credited sustained screaming with attracting family members who scared the animals away. If possible, activate any light source. Flashlights, headlamps, or even phone lights can startle the hyena momentarily. That split second might provide opportunity to strike or escape. One victim's father scared off hyenas by running toward the tent with a torch after hearing screams. Exit the tent if you can do so safely. A tent offers no protection and limits your movement. If the hyena has retreated temporarily, get out and seek solid shelter or open space where you can defend yourself better. If it's still present, use tent poles, camping gear, or any solid object as weapons. Strike repeatedly at the head and face. Prevention remains the best defense against tent attacks. Completely seal your tent before sleep. No open flaps, no mesh windows left uncovered, no gaps in zippers. Check the perimeter of your tent site for holes in fences or obvious animal pathways. Sleep with a flashlight or headlamp within immediate reach. Consider sleeping in shifts if camping in high-risk areas like Cape Vidal or Kruger National Park campsites with documented hyena presence. One person remaining alert can detect approaching animals before they reach tents. Park authorities and experienced guides recommend additional measures in high-risk zones. Never leave food, toiletries, or scented items in or near tents. Store everything in vehicles or bear-proof containers. Some camps now require that tents be pitched inside vehicles or on elevated platforms. Take these requirements seriously. They exist because of previous attacks. Vehicles provide significant protection if used correctly, but they also create unique encounter dynamics. Hyenas approach vehicles regularly in parks and reserves, having learned that tourists often mean food opportunity. Safari guides report hyenas investigating vehicles, sniffing around doors, even pawing at wheels. Remain in your vehicle during any hyena encounter. Modern vehicles are solid barriers that hyenas cannot breach. Windows and doors must stay closed completely. Hyenas are intelligent and have learned to exploit partially open windows. Multiple incidents involve hyenas reaching through window gaps, though injuries from these situations are typically minor compared to ground encounters. Do not feed hyenas from vehicles under any circumstances. This behavior, while seemingly harmless, habituates them to human presence and associates vehicles with food. These habituated hyenas become progressively bolder, eventually approaching people outside vehicles. The Cape Vidal attacks likely occurred in part because hyenas became habituated through years of tourists feeding them. If a hyena approaches your vehicle, remain calm and observe. Many approach out of curiosity rather than aggression. Do not honk your horn unless the situation becomes threatening. Unnecessary noise habituates them to vehicle sounds. Slowly drive away if the animal won't leave. Do not attempt to touch, photograph at close range, or interact with the animal through windows. If you must exit your vehicle in hyena country, scan carefully first. Look around the entire vehicle perimeter, check under nearby bushes, and listen for vocalizations indicating clan presence. If you see hyenas, remain in the vehicle until they move away. If you absolutely must exit, have someone stay in the vehicle to monitor and honk if hyenas approach, and keep the door open for rapid re-entry. Breakdowns or mechanical issues present serious problems in hyena territory. If possible, stay with the vehicle and call for assistance via cell phone, satellite communicator, or radio. The vehicle provides barrier and elevation advantage. If you must abandon the vehicle, travel during daylight hours only, stick to roads and trails, and move in groups. Solo foot travel through hyena country is extraordinarily dangerous. Urban hyenas, those living in or near human settlements, present a unique threat profile. These animals have adapted to human presence, lost natural fear, and learned to exploit human food sources. Cities like Mekelle, Addis Ababa, and Harar in Ethiopia host established urban hyena populations. Certain areas of Nairobi, Kenya, and Durban, South Africa, also report regular hyena presence. Urban hyenas behave differently than their wilderness counterparts. They're emboldened by constant human contact, familiar with structures and vehicles, and highly efficient at accessing garbage, livestock, and other food. They've learned human patterns: when garbage is put out, when people sleep, when streets are empty. This intelligence makes them more dangerous in some respects. However, urban hyenas can also be more predictable. They follow routine pathways between dens and feeding sites. Local knowledge is invaluable. Residents usually know where hyenas den, what routes they travel, and what times they're active. In cities with long-term hyena presence, communities develop coexistence strategies. In Harar, the famous hyena feeding tradition has created unusual tolerance, though attacks still occasionally occur. If you encounter urban hyenas, the same basic principles apply. Don't run, appear large, make noise, and stand your ground. However, urban hyenas may be less responsive to these tactics since they've seen countless humans. They've learned that most humans pose no real threat. This means you may need to be more aggressive in your defense. Louder noise, more dramatic movements, possibly even throwing objects at the ground near them to create sharp sounds. Urban environments offer advantages that wilderness doesn't. Buildings provide shelter, streets have lighting, help might be nearby, and vehicles are readily accessible. Use these advantages. Move toward lit areas, seek buildings with solid doors, call for help. Urban hyenas have learned that sustained human attention eventually means trouble from authorities, so creating a commotion often works. Livestock owners face ongoing conflicts with urban and suburban hyenas. These animals are notorious for killing goats, sheep, chickens, and even cattle. Protecting livestock requires robust fencing, guard dogs trained specifically for predator defense, and overnight housing for animals. Simple wire fences won't stop a determined hyena. They can dig under or push through. Electric fencing or walls at least 6 feet high provide better protection. If a hyena bite or attack occurs, immediate medical response is critical. Hyena bites are not just traumatic wounds. They're massively contaminated, potentially infected, and may involve significant structural damage. Their jaws crush bone, tear flesh, and introduce bacteria from carrion eating into the wound. Stop bleeding first. Apply direct pressure with whatever clean material is available: cloth, clothing, bandages. Many hyena bites to face, scalp, or limbs involve substantial blood vessels that cause rapid blood loss. Maintain pressure for at least 5 minutes continuously. If bleeding persists, continue pressure while elevating the affected area above heart level if possible. Do not attempt to clean or irrigate the wound in the field unless you have sterile saline and appropriate supplies. Dirty water or inadequate cleaning can worsen contamination. Cover the wound with clean material to prevent additional dirt entry, but definitive cleaning must happen in medical facilities. Get to professional medical care immediately. This is not a wait-and-see injury. Even bites that seem minor can become life-threatening within hours due to infection. Multiple hyena attack survivors required reconstructive surgery, skin grafts, and extended hospitalization. One victim underwent 8 hours of facial reconstruction. Another needed 30 stitches across head, hand, and legs. Professional treatment includes thorough wound cleaning and debridement, removing dead tissue and foreign material. Hyena bites often contain bone fragments, dirt, and bacteria. Antibiotics are mandatory. Broad-spectrum coverage for multiple bacterial types, including anaerobes from their carrion-based diet. Tetanus vaccination must be updated if status is questionable. Rabies consideration is critical. If the attacking hyena displayed abnormal behavior, excessive aggression, lack of fear, unusual vocalizations, or appeared sick, rabies is a serious concern. Sub-Saharan Africa has significant rabies prevalence in wildlife. Post-exposure prophylaxis must begin immediately if rabies exposure is suspected. This involves a series of injections over weeks. Delaying treatment can be fatal since rabies is nearly 100% lethal once symptoms develop. Structural damage assessment requires X-rays or CT scans. Hyena bites can fracture skulls, break facial bones, shatter hand and finger bones, or cause long bone fractures in limbs. One Kruger attack victim's jaw was broken in multiple places. Internal injuries from crushing bite force may not be immediately apparent. Psychological trauma is inevitable. PTSD symptoms are common after predator attacks. Flashbacks, nightmares, anxiety, and fear responses are normal reactions to abnormal, life-threatening events. Professional psychological support should be part of recovery. All hyena attacks must be reported to local wildlife authorities immediately. In national parks and reserves, report to park rangers or warden offices. In communities, report to Kenya Wildlife Service, South African National Parks, Tanzania Wildlife Authority, or equivalent agencies depending on location. Reporting serves multiple purposes. It alerts authorities to dangerous animals, creates documentation for potential medical or legal claims, and contributes to wildlife management decisions. Attacks involving habituated animals that have lost fear of humans often result in capture and relocation, or in cases of repeated attacks, euthanasia. The Cape Vidal attacks led to trapping operations targeting the specific hyenas responsible. While this seems harsh, conservation biology recognizes that individual animals that attack humans pose ongoing public safety threats. Removing specific problem animals while preserving the larger population balances human safety with species conservation. Documentation of the attack scene, injuries, and circumstances helps authorities. Photographs of the tent, bite wounds, animal tracks, and any other relevant evidence should be collected if safe to do so. This information assists wildlife officials in identifying responsible animals and implementing preventive measures. Insurance and liability issues arise in attacks at commercial campsites or lodges. Many facilities have liability limitations, but documentation of negligence, failure to warn about known hyena presence, inadequate fencing, failure to enforce safety protocols may establish claims. The Cape Vidal victims noted that campsite literature warned about monkeys, but not hyenas, despite years of hyena presence. Multiple documented survivors provide consistent testimony about what worked and what didn't during their encounters. Nicholas Holes fought off 2 hyenas in his tent by gouging eyes, shoving his hand down one's throat, and sustained screaming that brought his father running with a light. Tim Govender woke to a hyena biting his face, shoved it away, fought it off when it grabbed his hand, and kicked it in the snout when it came back a 3rd time. The Kruger Park teenager was dragged 98 feet, but survived because family members woke and scared the hyena off. Common themes emerge. Fighting back works better than passive defense. Hyenas can be driven off by aggressive resistance even from injured victims. Light and noise from other people often triggers retreat. Multiple small defensive actions, striking, pushing, kicking, yelling, create cumulative effect that breaks the hyena's attack commitment. Survivors also note the speed of attacks. From first bite to retreat often spans 1 to 2 minutes, but those minutes feel eternal. The chaos, pain, darkness, and adrenaline compress time perception. Having predetermined response plans helps since conscious decision-making becomes difficult during the event. Prevention remains the overwhelming lesson. Every tent attack survivor emphasized that proper tent sealing would have prevented their nightmare. The simple act of fully zipping tent doors eliminates the opportunity. This isn't complex survival knowledge. It's basic camping practice that too many people ignore until they're statistics. Understanding hyenas beyond threat assessment is important for complete perspective. These animals are keystone species in African ecosystems. They clean carcasses that would otherwise spread disease. They provide nutrient redistribution through scavenging. They control herbivore populations through predation. Ecosystems without hyenas show measurable declines in health. Hyena populations face serious pressures: habitat loss to agriculture and urbanization, persecution by livestock owners who view them as pests, poisoning campaigns, and prey-based depletion. Despite their fearsome reputation, several hyena populations are declining. Brown hyenas are particularly vulnerable. Striped hyenas are classified as near-threatened in much of their range. Human-wildlife conflict drives many problems. As human populations expand into wildlife areas, encounters increase. Livestock predation creates economic losses that trigger retaliatory killing. Solutions require integrated approaches: improved livestock protection, compensation programs for losses, education about coexistence, and land use planning that provides wildlife corridors. The paradox is that areas with strong conservation programs often have healthier human-hyena relationships. Serengeti, Kruger, and other well-managed reserves have stable hyena populations, ecotourism that provides economic benefits to communities, and relatively low conflict. Areas with weak conservation infrastructure see both declining hyena numbers and increased human-wildlife conflict. Your survival encounter is one data point in a larger conservation story. Reporting attacks helps wildlife management make informed decisions. Supporting conservation organizations and responsible ecotourism contributes to solutions. Understanding that hyenas are neither villains nor cuddly misunderstood creatures, they're apex predators filling essential ecological roles, creates realistic perspective. Surviving a hyena encounter comes down to preparation, recognition, and response. Preparation means understanding where and when you're at risk, equipping yourself appropriately, and implementing prevention strategies that eliminate most encounters before they begin. Recognition means identifying hyena presence and reading behavior signals that tell you whether you're dealing with curiosity or genuine threat. Response means executing the tactics we've covered: standing your ground, appearing large and aggressive, making sustained noise, and fighting back if physical contact occurs. The data is clear. Hyenas can be survived. Most encounters don't result in attacks when people respond correctly. The ones that do escalate often involve people who were sleeping, unprepared, or made critical errors like running or appearing vulnerable. Armed with knowledge, you dramatically shift the odds in your favor. Remember the core principles. Never run from a hyena, you cannot win that race, and running triggers chase instinct. Always appear large and aggressive. Convince the animal you're dangerous and not worth the effort. Make noise continuously. Sound projects confidence and can summon help. Stand your ground even if terrified. Predators interpret retreat as prey behavior. And above all, prevent encounters through proper camping practices, awareness of surroundings, and respect for the fact that you're visiting their territory. If you found this information valuable, please give this video a thumbs up. It helps others who need this knowledge find it. Consider subscribing to the channel for more in-depth survival and wildlife content that goes beyond surface-level advice to give you genuine, life-saving information. Share this with anyone planning to travel, camp, or work in hyena country. Knowledge shared is survival improved. Most importantly, approach wildlife encounters with both respect and rationality. Hyenas are remarkable animals with complex social lives, vital ecological roles, and behaviors honed over millions of years of evolution. They're not evil, but they are dangerous. That distinction matters. By understanding them, we can coexist more safely while appreciating the incredible predators they truly are. Stay safe out there. Thank you for watching.